Today's episode is a little different. I'm going to get into some dark history while we fly freestyle in this bando. The building behind me, this is the third time built consecutively burned by fire hotel that in 1940 was leased to house prisoners of war, specifically Japanese and German prisoners. 3,500 prisoners went through this place, but we're going to get into that later. Let's do some little ripping, get into some history. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's go.
So before the arrival of the Anglo fur trapper dudes in the 18th century, the band of Ohlone indigenous people, I think I'm saying that right, used the hot springs for centuries. The springs were later claimed by Spanish settlers, pioneers, and Mexican ranchers. But the hot springs weren't developed until 1865, 13 years before the town of Byron even existed. The Southern Pacific Railroad served Byron Hot Springs Depot with 7 stops a day. And around 1878, a 10-page brochure was published advertising the hot springs and their curative waters as a preeminently natural sanitarium of California and the Pacific Coast, ultimately blowing up the spot. Lewis Mead, this yuppie who came along in 1889, built Mead's Hot Salt Springs, where he built the very first hotel on the site of 57 hot sulfurous salt springs naturally occurring on the land. Some say it was just a coincidence that all of the structures kept mysteriously burning down one after another until they built the unburnable brick building you see today. So the original hotel, built in 1889, included a 3-story wood building with a few cottages scattered around, as well as a laundry, gas, and ice plant, all of which were destroyed by fire on July 25th, 1901. So then they built a second hotel, a 3-story structure, a stucco Moorish-style building that was constructed in 1901, right after the first one burned down. And in 1912, the entire wood frame property burned to a mass of ashes. So they were like, you know what? It's not an omen. It has nothing to do with the native land that we disgraced. We're just going to go ahead and build a building that can't get burned down. So they built the final one, this one, from concrete and fireproof brick. So about 1906, the Byron Hot Springs was one of a handful of 5-star hotels in California. An advertisement in Byron Times from 1913 even called the resort America's unequal spa. Fascist. In the 1920s, though, it was a popular destination for wealthy patrons, celebrities, and business tycoons. Supposedly, if you showed up here, you would see famous people like Charlie Chaplin and Clark Gable. Well-known author Jack London was here. Famous baseball star Joe DiMaggio, I'm sure some of you know that name. He chilled here. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour. Following a series of lawsuits, they closed the doors in 1938. The government leased the site and turned it into a military interrogation camp, concentration camp, known as Camp Tracy. They housed both German and Japanese prisoners of war, and in 1945, they were ordered to dismantle it. But during its active years, it interrogated over 3,500 prisoners. And in 1947, the hot springs was purchased by a Greek Orthodox church for a measly price of $100,000. Since then, it's been sold a bunch of times, serving as a resort, a country club, and even someone's house. Imagine how spooky that'd be, getting a glass of water in the middle of the night, knowing all of the peril that was on your land. Talk about coincidence. In 2005, it said a Victorian-style carriage on the property burned to the ground. And in 2008, a developer announced plans to restore the resort, but it's 2025 and not a peep. So, speaking of peeps, Some visitors reported strange sounds that they attributed to ghosts, but there's a bunch of owls' nests in the top, so that's probably more likely. Call me a skeptic.
Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Spooky.
All right. Well, it could have been worse. They could have come through and blew shotgun shells at us like the other people. Also, no, I didn't say that. The only thing I broke flying this new bando. Ooh, loose prop that whole time too. Dang. I bent my ELRS antenna cap. Let's see. Oh, I lost the antenna too. That's okay. But all in all, it was a good first run. See you on the next one.
Listen. Listen.